Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Roaming Road. I'm David Dildine, and here at the Roaming Road, we are ready to ride. And we're ready to ride because today I have a very dear friend of mine, the founder and president of the Black Sheep of Harley-Davidson, Pastor Marty Edwards. Marty, good to have you here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So glad you came. Marty is amazing. The Black Sheep are an international organization for Harley owners, and he's going to talk to us about that a little bit. And they're my favorite group to work with. I love riding with these guys. They are all very strong Christians. We got good people that I get to ride with. And Marty's a very dear friend. So one of the great things about doing this show is that I get to interview people that I get to walk through life with. People that have meant so much to me and are mentors to me. And I get to bring them on the show. So this is really exciting. Marty, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Black Sheep story?
Well, Black Sheep is a motorcycle ministry that will obviously share the gospel with anybody, but our focus, our country, so to speak, is what is called HOG, H-O-G, Harley Owners Group. Every time you see a Harley-Davidson sign on the freeway and there's a store there, there's usually a HOG chapter or a riding club that is attached to it. And that's the focus that we have. We share the gospel. We are HOG members. You notice on my vest I have a Black Sheep patch, but I also have a HOG patch because we're members of HOG.
Okay.
And one day I had a flat tire on my bike, and I don't know how to change the tire on a motorcycle. And I called the local dealership and asked them to send somebody out. And they sent out a young man named Michael. He was 19 years old. And I was still a pastor of a local church then, and was moved to share the gospel with this young man. He was kind of sad and kind of rough around the edges. And to be honest with you, to my shame, I failed. I did not share the gospel with him. And 2 days later, he was dead from a motorcycle accident. And of course, you can imagine that hit me very hard. Lots of guilt, lots of shame. And so I went down to the local dealership and I introduced myself to the HOG chapter and to the owners of the dealership and explained that I was a local pastor and I was very sorry to hear about Michael's death, and was there anything that I could do to help? And that's when I realized the incredible opportunity, because this particular dealership had 20 or 30 employees. They had about 400 HOG members, and they said, "Pastor, anything you can do, you're welcome to do." And so I just walked in and began to pray with people, and a lot of people were sad, a lot of people were hurting, and it was like a very small snowball that just grew and grew and grew from there to today, when we're now in 38 United States and a couple of countries around the world ministering to HOG members.
Wow. You know, one of the great things is, you know, you had a situation like that, and rather than just saying, wow, that was really a missed opportunity, wow, you know, leave it at that, you went out and actually took that passion and made it into a ministry to where you are really reaching people all over. And that's fantastic that, you know, sometimes when we get kind of a setback or we think, wow, I should have done this, you actually took that and used it to propel forward. You said you failed, but you actually failed forward in doing that and really promoted other people to where they are now coming into Christ because of your action.
Well, you know, even in our attempt to reconcile with that one particular situation and to try to make it right and do what we could to help the surviving friends and family of Michael, God kind of picked it up and kind of hurled us forward. We never set out to start Black Sheep, but we just found ourselves being pushed along by local media. Local newspaper did a story on us. Then Peter Jennings from ABC World News Tonight, I guess there was something we were doing they thought was interesting, and so they did a show on us there. And the phone started to ring. And what it is the church recognized that there was a mission field. Right now there's about 2.5 million HOG members around the world that is completely untouched by the church. And being that we were bikers, we were the most obvious people to be able to reach out to them. So I don't want to take all the credit. We didn't jump up and take charge. the Lord just moved us along, and when he opened the door, we walked through it, and that's where we are today.
One of the fantastic things for all of our viewers out there, and we have viewers all around the world, wherever God has you, he's got a ministry for you, he's got a place for you, he's got something for you to do. And we say this all the time, that God meets you where you're at, but he's got some place that only you can reach, only you can do things for him, because that's where he has you planted is where he wants you to grow and where he wants you to bloom. He had you planted in a place where you could open up and really reach out to other people that share your passion, who may not ever go to a church. And sometimes, you know, the old song about we're the only Bible that somebody ever reads, and a lot of times that's very true. And so having a great testimony and being able to meet them like that is incredibly important.
I think the church has misunderstood that missions is something about going to the world, and certainly it includes that, but missions can be going across the street and talking to your neighbors and sharing your faith, looking for opportunities. You know, the Bible tells us to, as Christians, to come out from among them and be holy. But it also tells us to go into all the worlds. And I think that sometimes we confuse that by coming away and being set apart, that we sometimes render ourselves ineffective with our neighbor. And whether that's in Jerusalem or Judea or the uttermost parts of the earth, we're to seize the day, we're to take the opportunity and to use that as an opportunity to be a missionary, whether you're going around the world or across the street.
That's awesome. Now, if I wanted to be a Black Sheep member, you've got the really cool vest. You've got that cut on. I really love that. What do all these things mean that are on your vest? And is this a fashion statement, or is there something else behind it?
Well,
what do you have to do?
You know, one of the things that we have to learn about any mission that we're going to go on is we have to learn the culture or the subculture of the people. Right. We need to, as Paul said, to become all things to all people. And in God, in his wisdom, as I was preparing to buy a Harley Davidson, totally separate from that, I was a student at Fuller Theological Seminary, School of World Missions. And I was learning about sociology, and I was learning about missiology and about embracing a culture for who they are as much as you can within the context of being a Christian. And so our members are trained to be skillful missionaries and to understand the culture. Now, the cut or the vest in the motorcycle world is a very important thing. It identifies who you are and what you're about. So over on this side, you have the Black Sheep patch. You have a place for your name or for your nickname, your chapter. They want to know where you're from. And then down below that, if you're an officer, you have an officer tag. It confuses them a little bit that we are also members of Harley Owners Group, but it identifies what we do. Now on my back, there's a larger patch that says Black Sheep, Harley Davidsons for Christ, and Romans 1:16 is around the circle of the patch. For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, for it is the power of God to everybody who believes. And that's a very powerful witness. The word says that when my word goes forth, it will not return void. So every time I put this cut on, I'm putting on the Word of God. And people stop us in gas stations and in grocery stores and in motorcycle dealerships, and they say, what's that Black Sheep thing all about? So this is just a part of the uniform and identifying who we are and what we're about.
That's a great thing, because, you know, so often we're so afraid to speak out, or we just kind of hide in the shadows and we're afraid to share our faith. You're wearing your faith. You're showing who you are and allowing people to come up and actually ask questions. And I think that's exciting. And one of the things that I notice as a biker is we go out and ride. We are so open with other bikers. There's a huge avenue. And if you ride and you love God and you ride, you get out with a group of people. As soon as you park your bike, people are asking you questions about your bike. Now you've already got a relationship because you both ride. And it puts you on this great level where you can actually share your faith, share the gospel. And I think the fact that you do that by, you know, wearing the vest, having a code of conduct that you have where you are not ashamed of the gospel of Christ and you are separated. You're really showing yourselves who you are. It gives that great testimony where it's like, I want to be like that guy. he's just really wonderful. I like this person.
You know, working within any subculture or any genre of ministry, whether it's motorcycles or scientists or teachers or whatever, there's an automatic connection, and that connection kind of lowers the suspicion level, and we can talk on one level about motorcycles and about riding and where we just rode and where we've been, but we also are there to talk about Christ and to wait for that opportunity for God to open a door. It's what we call divine appointments, whether it's coming across an accident or coming across an opportunity to pray for somebody. But we are forever feeling a little tug on our vest and pulling us around the corner by somebody who's maybe afraid to identify with Christ, but they recognize something in us and they want us to pray with them, maybe for their child or for their job or for one of their aging parents. And we have a saying: show up, shake hands, and listen. In other words, be available, have your eyes open, and look for that opportunity, look for that divine appointment that God is going to create for us to simply be able to walk in. But the thing we got to do is we've got to get out of our homes, we got to get out of our churches, and we got to go to where the people are. That's what Jesus did. Most of Jesus' miracles happened on the roadside, happened on the countryside, happened near the steps of the temple. And that's where the church needs to be.
Tell us a little bit about some of the hospital visits that you and the Black Sheep make, and you guys are well known for your hospital visits, and any particular stories you might have of where God worked real powerfully.
You know, God works in mysterious ways. That's what we're told. And the opportunities come to us. When people are down, when they're weak, when they're hurt, when they're sick, their hearts tend to open up and tend to be looking for opportunities to be touched, to be comforted. And so we basically have a little blanket that we roll up, and it has the Black Sheep patch on it. In the motorcycle culture, typically you don't ever give your patch away. To most bikers, their patch is sacred. Of course, to us, it's just a tool. But we'll take that patch and we'll sew it onto this blanket, and we'll go into an injured biker or a sick biker who we've heard about, and we'll give them the blanket. And there's usually a New Testament in the blanket, and there might even be a $100 bill in the blanket just to touch them and to try to reach out to them. And that has been used so many times to make the connection. We do biker weddings, we do biker funerals, we do bike blessings, and we're finding that this generally works in whatever culture that we're in. It's working in Mexico, it's working in North America, it's working in Australia. We've had chapters in Europe, and it's a matter of being Jesus to hurting people and finding ways to connect and trusting each other, because they know that we ride just like they do, and there's kind of a camaraderie there that's very important that binds us together.
You know, we're told that we are to be his hands and his feet, and sometimes those hands have a motorcycle glove and motorcycle boots on, right? So
Exactly.
that's exactly what we need to be doing. I think that's fantastic, and there's such power in numbers, to be honest. Iron sharpens iron, and so one of the things that the Black Sheep do is they're very good at training, helping each other, and when somebody is kind of fallen or struggling, we're called to come around that person and to lift them up. And I've noticed that your group does that very, very well. You also have something called ILS, the International Leadership Summit, which is one of my favorite weekends that they let me come, and I get to ride and hang out with them and go through some of the classes. Tell us a little bit about the ILS.
Well, Black Sheep early on really wanted to be strategic about what we were doing. People sometimes think that we're about riding motorcycles and having a good time. That's a byproduct. We're very serious about what we're doing. We're very serious about wanting to be effective in being Christ's ambassadors. And so ILS stands for International Leadership Summit. And once a year, our members gather from around the world for inspirational speakers, times of worship. We have small classes on everything from roadside rescue to sharing our faith on the streets with people, to how to do a hospital call. because most of our people aren't pastors, they're not ministers, they've never done anything like that. And so we want them to be as prepared as possible. In fact, to join Black Sheep, you don't just come in and put on a vest. There's a 4 to 6 month mentorship training time that you have to go through. And when you start that, there's no guarantee that you'll graduate. You really need to measure up and be able to be willing to take the time and the effort. And there's money involved in motorcycle ministry because we do a lot of traveling. We go to a lot of places. That's not cheap. And we want to really make sure that our people are ready. They've counted the cost to be in this ministry. So our guys are prepared. They're ready to go.
So with all of your training, basically what happens is if you've got the vest on, you've got the heart on too. So you're really working with people to train them and to get them ready for the world around them.
And reputation is very important.
Absolutely.
Jesus, the word of Jesus grew over time. His love, his compassion, his power grew, and the crowds began to gather. Likewise, in the motorcycle world, your reputation is very, very important. If we're not acting like Christians, if we're not acting like who we say we are, there are those in the motorcycle culture that can become very angry and very violent. They'll respect you from a distance if you walk the talk, if you do what you say you believe. Mm-hmm. And it only takes a few members to fall down or mess up to have it affect all of us. And I'm very grateful to the Lord that we have a good reputation across the country. And Black Sheep is a people of integrity and courage and character that I'm very proud to be a part of.
Now, I would assume that there's a website that if I wanted to join the Black Sheep or learn more about them, there's probably a website that I could go to.
Certainly.
And if I don't have one close to me, and I don't have a chapter close to me, I can always try to start one, right?
Every chapter that we have of Black Sheep has been started by 1 or 2 people. And they may be fairly new in the faith and we move slowly, or they may be giants in the faith, but they know nothing about motorcycle ministry. We'll train you. The website is www.blacksheephdfc.org. HDFC as in Harley Davidsons for Christ.org. And on there you can contact our office. We'll send you all the literature that you need. And if you're ready to join, we'll attach you to one of our mentors who will personally take you through the training time to become a Black Sheep.
That is excellent. And I will personally endorse this group and Marty and all that they've done because I know a bunch of the chapters. They have breakfasts on Saturday. I spend a lot of time filling out this jacket by riding around to different breakfasts and eating each Saturday with different clubs. That
would you like to know how we got the name Black Sheep?
I would.
I was pastoring a church called the Lamb's Fellowship. Now, in the English language, a black sheep is that different person. They're that strange person on the side. They're not like everybody else. And of course, with that understanding, Jesus was the black sheep of his family.
Yes, he was.
He was the outcast. His family
Absolutely.
rejected him. Well, as Christians, we felt that we were not totally understood in the church and not totally understood in the motorcycle community, so that made us the black sheep. One day, when we were just 5 or 6 members, when we were just beginning, we pulled into my church, the Lamb's Fellowship, and somebody said, "Oh, look, here comes the black sheep of the church." And the name stuck. So we're Black Sheep, but we're Harley Davidsons for Christ.
Wow. That's interesting and so true. How many people in the Bible were outcasts? You look
Certainly.
at somebody, like even a Gideon that he's hiding, and God sends an angel to lift him up and say, mighty warrior. And I've seen that so much with the black sheep that, God's just using you guys in a great, great way to reach out to people that many think are unreachable and untouchable and maybe not somebody that, we're too afraid to go to them. They look different than we do. They're wearing leather jackets and they're scary looking. Those are the people that we need to reach out to the most. And God has somebody to reach everybody,
Absolutely.
no matter where they are.
Absolutely.
And that's exciting that God is using you to reach out to. Now, how long has Black Sheep been going on?
We've been going for about 18 years. We started in 1999. And you're right about people looking for ways to connect. We're on Twitter now, blacksheepontwitter.com, and I've got all these scary-looking characters that are becoming my friends on Twitter. And when you look at their site, they're pretty scary guys, but they want something that you have. And it's not us. It's the gospel that we're presenting, and they're saying, there's something interesting about that. And so they'll get on there, and they'll send me little messages, and we talk back and forth. And what a privilege to be able to go where the local church just doesn't feel comfortable to go. And so we are missionaries to the biker community, specifically to these 2.5 million hog members. Any way we can reach them, we'll try.
You know, when we look at how Christ reached out to the people around him, he was reaching out to a very agrarian society,
Right.
So that's why many of his stories relate to them. He understood more than anybody how to relate to the people he was trying to reach. And he constantly was uplifting people, bringing them closer. The only people he ever actually attacked were
That's right, the church.
the church, the Pharisees. Those were the ones he called the brood of vipers. But anybody else, whether they were a glutton or, had been in prostitution or wherever they might be, he always lifted them up. He always drew them close, and he knew how to speak to people. I think a lot of us have forgotten how to speak to somebody who might be different than we are.
Well, sure, we're inside the church. We're inside our family. We're inside our comfort zone. And I don't think it's that the Christians don't want to go out and connect. They don't know how to connect. But that's a good point I want you to know is that every Black Sheep member is a faithful member of a local church. Black Sheep is not a church. We don't want to be a church. We're evangelists. But every single Black Sheep must be a member of a local church. The church has supported us financially, prayerfully. They send us out, and we go back, and we hope to be the best church members that we can be as well. But yeah, Jesus went outside the church. He went outside his comfort zone, certainly, and how could we do any less?
Absolutely. Marty, I so appreciate you coming out here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I just want anybody out there to know that if you are interested in learning more about Black Sheep, we have a lot of bikers that watch this show all over the world. You're interested in Black Sheep, go to that website. Go to Black Sheep,
BlackSheepHDFC.org.
Go to that website, get some information, join them on a ride if you're close by, and some of the greatest guys you will ever ride with. Very, very safe riders and very protective of their flock. So, very exciting group. And understand that God has got so many groups, so many people that he is reaching out to that are just like you are. There's somebody that you can reach that nobody else can reach. There's somebody in your neighborhood, somebody in your town, somebody in your lifestyle, whatever that might be. Some hobby or passion or interest that you have. God has specifically prepared you as that tool to go reach out to him, to share the gospel with him. And it may just be somebody that's watching you that you don't even know about and is seeing, wow, these guys look really like they love the Lord. They love God. There's something different about them. I want to find out more about them because I want to find out I want to have what they have. There's a peace about them. There's just something going on. That happens every day. And it may be happening in your life. Now, if you're watching this program and you've never asked Christ to come into your heart, you don't know the peace that we're talking about. You don't know what we're talking about when we say that we're Christians. It's very simple. All you need to do is come to God, just say, Heavenly Father, forgive me of my sins. I know I'm a sinner.
Yes, Lord.
And I know that you sacrificed your Son on the cross
Yes.
just for me. I accept his sacrifice.
Yes, Lord.
And I ask him to come into my heart and save me.
Amen.
It's just that simple. If you have prayed that, please write to us here at The Way TV. We'd love to hear about your story and be able to reach out to you and kind of help you along in your new journey. As we say, whatever part of the journey you're on, whatever road you're on, God is already there. And He's prepared that road just for you. He knows every turn, every bend, every hill, every difficulty. Amen. And He's got it all planned and prepared just for you. But He's also got something else prepared for you. He's got an eternity to be with Him. And He can't wait to have you accept Him, to know that you will be forever with Him because He's chosen you and He loves you. It's the only way to live.
Amen.
Thank you, Marty.
My pleasure.
Thank you to Black Sheep. And thank you. We so love our audience here, and no matter where you are, understand God is there with you, and He's got a plan for your life. Be ready to see what road He takes you down, because it's always exciting. It's always adventurous. Whether you're on a motorcycle or not, it's very adventurous. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next month here at the Roaming Road, and blessings to everybody.
God bless.
Good night.